Well, I'm really excited to be having an interview with two evolvers this month. I've got the beautiful Jess and Wez from Align and Connect here today. How are you both?
Good, really
Yeah,
good,
unreal.
amazing.
Yeah, you look very zen, and I'm excited to dive into the journey that has been over the last few years. But for those who haven't met you before, perhaps just introduce yourselves and individually let everyone know who you are and what you're doing in the world at the moment.
Well, we're Jess and Wez from Align and Connect, and we have just launched our new business, which is offering couples alignment packages and support for couples to basically recreate that journey that we've been on ourselves and the experience that we've had to do the work yourself to do the work together. So yeah, that's basically where we are at right now and manifesting all the wonderful things that we've been able to create along the way.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm Wez. I'm Jess's husband, but I think yeah, with this couple's journey that we're on at the minute is being the male in it. It seems like that's where the most resistance is within this. I guess what the angle that we're taking is, it seems to be the males that have the most resistance. So I've got to, I feel really honoured to be able to, speak directly to the masculine and the males within that partnership. So
That's 100% so important. I mean, we have definitely noticed a positive trend in our courses over the last year or two that there's been more men, but there's definitely still a higher percentage of women that are naturally drawn to this kind of work. And you're right, there is resistance. And I think if you can help people get around that together, that's fantastic. And so where were things for you both? What were you doing work-wise, say 12 to 18 months ago? And tell us a bit about the journey that you've been on with your study and evolution.
yeah, so I had a handyman business, and so I was doing all sorts of different handyman stuff around Adelaide, and I quite enjoyed the satisfaction I got from that, and I guess the customers that that buzz that you get when you go and do something at someone's house that they can't do themselves, and they get quite a big buzz out of it. But I myself was having a few struggles in my personal life, just with a few things around some addiction. And I guess the further I went through the journey, I realized how much work, how much underlying stuff I actually had buried back behind me. And I think I was sort of in that mentality of that old school man, push everything down and sort of don't express your emotion, don't be too vulnerable. Felt a lot of shame around, I guess, speaking my truth and my deepest truths to anyone, and especially to other men. So yeah, that's what I was doing 18 months ago as a handyman.
It's almost hard to imagine now because just who you are is shining so bright, and it almost doesn't align, like you can't even understand. But that's a huge credit. And I think that's what's so powerful about this work is you've walked that path, and so you know what it's like to be stuck in that, in those cycles and in those patterns, and you also can be that beacon to show people what's opposite. And I know, Jess, you were in a really different industry, well, somewhat.
Yeah.
Industry, so
Yeah, it's interesting having this conversation because I had sort of, I guess, yeah, being where we are now, almost, I guess, sort of almost forgotten some of the intensity of where I was in that stage of my life. That I was a teacher, full-time teacher, relief teaching, and then there was a huge sort of shake up to my ability to dive into that to that work. So I at that point in time, I'd sort of lost a huge part of my identity, not being able to be a teacher. And that was huge. That was a part of my life, the part of my identity that I actually held quite a lot of confidence in, and a lot of strength of identifying actually who I was. So that part of my transition was huge for me to then have to unravel that and dive into who actually was I. Yeah, who actually was I underneath that. That was just that label, that part of my identity that I'd clung on to. So it was actually the most beautiful stepping stone of the journey into unraveling this whole path of potential that I'd never knew would have even existed, really, I guess. So yeah, that's quite interesting to reflect on now. So yeah, that, I guess that put it into a really deep, a position that I probably wouldn't have put myself into otherwise. And now we're here, and it's just, there's just been no looking back until these kind of conversations, which is beautiful to celebrate that.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. I still remember one of the first conversations that the three of us actually had.
Yeah.
Diving into the course. And so what are some of the differences you've noticed in your, say, relationship? Because I think the fact that you both studied and did a lot of the courses over the last few years together has been so powerful. What have you noticed firsthand?
I was reflecting a little bit on this just recently, and I remember, even because I did the hypnotherapy practitioner first, and at that stage that was just such a deep unraveling for me. It wasn't even me stepping into a space of, oh, I'm going to dive into this as work. It was purely just, wow, there is so much of me I've never even knew existed before. And I think that was that key to me, just going, wow, there is so much more to me to offer the world and my partner and my family and my life. So that was huge. And I think the biggest piece that comes to me is stepping away from that self-judgment, the self-criticism, and this beautiful self-acceptance that comes from doing this work. So that, I think that's for me, and having that then self-acceptance, it's then projecting that to others. I then had that deep self-acceptance and the acceptance of Wez, which perhaps I'd been rejecting for so many years prior. So yeah,
I think that's so spot on. Like, if you are highly critical of yourself, you're going to be critical of others, and the moment you have that love and compassion for yourself, it can deepen that and expand that. And so I love that you dived into the hypnotherapy, and I think, Wez, you had to work and you were, oh, I wish I could get in there, and so the NLP first.
Yeah, I did practitioner first, and so I
You'd
guess
already booked NLP practitioner, and then I
did hypno just before, because we'd had a conversation, and you'd mentioned that with what was coming up for Jess, it might be actually beneficial for her to do the hypno, and you were bang on, obviously, and that worked out well for me. It was
we were so similar. I could notice the overthinker. I had that too, and I said to Jess, like, oh, you know what? I did the hypnotherapy first, and it was actually great, because you just have to get out of your head.
Any other way, it was perfect. Yeah.
I think for me it was my journey sort of started because, like I mentioned, I struggled with addiction, and I actually went and got my own coach who had studied NLP and hypnotherapy. And so that was my gate in, because when I couldn't get help anywhere else, and then it was a coach that really changed the way I seen myself, and I got to deal with a fair bit of stuff I had buried down. And so that instant for me was like, I know what I want to do now. I want to study what my coach at that time had done, and that's when we got referred onto you, and it was one of the best decisions that we made. But I guess what the difference that I can feel now is, you touched on it before, is that it's always the mirror. Like, it's your judgment on other people that give you fear of judgment, and for me, that's been the biggest, I guess, breakthrough. The awareness of how you perceive other things is how it's that mirror of your inside. And so to really just have love and acceptance and open that everybody's got their own battles going on, and they don't always show it. A lot of people hide that down, like I used to and like we did. But I think it's just that ability just to accept that, everyone's got their own stuff going on, and we've all got things that have happened to us that, maybe we're holding on to and we haven't been able to work through yet. So that's been probably one of my biggest, changes.
I would say, from my perspective, you both just look super relaxed as well. a lot more relaxed than when we first spoke. So that's just a nice observation. I mean, you have done a lot of different work and you've moved as well, but I think I think that's really cool. So I'm curious, Jess, what would you say to yourself 2 years ago that was in that, in all of the identity of being the relief teacher, working through all this stuff? Like, what advice would you give to yourself 2 years ago about the journey that you have been on?
Yeah, wow. I think instantly it's sort of that this word surrender just comes up. So just surrendering to the path and just, trusting that it's, that you don't have to have it all worked out. You don't have to have it all lined up and organized and ready to go. It actually just happens for you, and just trusting that it will happen. Having that, surrender and trust, I think, is probably two words that I didn't even know how to embody before, which is two words that I practice daily now. So.
And how about for you, Wes? What advice would you give to the handyman 2 years ago about where you're at now?
I think the thing is with the NLP practitioner was such a game changer for me in my mindset. So I went into that. I'd left school young. I hadn't studied. I hadn't done much. I didn't think I was very good at reading, and that course just changed so much for me of my mindset that we are so powerful and amazing, and wherever you put your intention to get. I remember sitting in that course in the first, I think it was about day 3, and I was like, I'm out of my league. This is these people are like, these people have got it going on, and I'm getting left behind. And that course is just, and you would know this, you would have seen it in every course because it happens. And it's just that switch. You go, wow, I've got this. I've got this. Like, there's no need to have resistance. And anytime there is that sort of, as you learn in the course, the fog is just embracing that, because there's always beautiful growth once you're challenged or you're feeling triggered or, it seems too much. There's always this beautiful lesson or light at the end of that. So
for those who don't know, we refer to being in the fog as, when you feel uncertainty and doubt, it's that feeling of growth. And if you can reframe it can help you to get through it. And I love that you draw upon that and refer to that, because it is such, I would say, if I look at you two, it's so brave. Like, you both just went all in. Like, you, from I think the very first conversation, both said we want to do everything, all the courses that you have on offer. And often people will do one and then they'll do the next and then they'll do the next. But every now and then we get these people that are just like, nah, the whole lot, give me everything. I need to just, like, I'm on the fast track to evolution. And I think the growth and the change, like, I always say one of our courses is worth 5 years of just banging your head against the wall and trying to move through things. And it's like a week can just give you 5 years. And so you've both also almost had 20 or 30 years of transformation, 18 months or something. And it shows. And
we feel it. Yeah. I think it was what was beautiful about doing the course and doing them together is so many times throughout that journey, we had so many people that we were studying with that were like, wow, these guys are doing this together. And it took us a bit to catch up to where we were at, people could see it in us. And it took us a little bit to find that within ourselves. And that's been the beautiful thing about, continually leveling up and doing the work, is that, we do now know where we're at. We know the superpower of us being together on this journey. So that's another beautiful reflection looking back at, throughout the courses. And
it felt like you were going to say something then, Jess.
No, I was just reflecting on how deeply it does, like doing the work together. I mean, I just had this vivid flashback of almost every course that we've done together, the intensity of that, because, the things that you're learning, the things you're unpacking and unraveling, and then the triggers that come up. And as we know that, as Wez's teacher, I trigger you for your growth. It's like, it's all the things within us that we're then unpacking and learning. It's just,
it's almost like you were doing 2 courses in one.
Yeah, because we'd have our lunch breaks together, and after the course we'd come back together and say, if we got triggered in the course about something that was beautiful, we could pull each other back, or but it was like a course within a course, because we had our, we were in separate rooms, but then in the breaks we'd come back together and have something, a bit of a chat, and it was a beautiful.
Trust me, I know what you mean, what it's like to work with your partner. And I used to think, teaching NLP was a challenge, and then we started teaching together and it was like this whole new level. It's like, hang on, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, I'm the leader. We had to learn not to step on each other's toes, and I think that's such a beautiful dance to do together as well. And so I'm curious, because you've both, been offering your own individual offerings. So tell me about how it's come now full circle to you offering your couples alignment coaching and those packages.
Yeah, well, I think it was interesting when we first I think because I'd had that business set up beforehand, and then we dived into the courses together. And then it was one of the triggers actually that Wes came home one day, and we'd always sort of talked about doing this. Like, this is a journey that we're doing together. This is beautiful, you know. And so I had this little vision in my head of how it was going to unfold. And then Wes got all excited one day, and he went out and he's like, right, I've got my logo done, I've registered the business, and it's, you know, it's called Alignment, and I'm off. And he went off and did his own thing. And I was a little bit heartbroken going, hang on, this isn't, I thought we were doing this together. Like, this is us. I can't do this alone. Like, I'd still remember that vividly. So, but I think that it had to happen like that so beautifully, because then Wes went out, he was, you know, calling in some beautiful male clients, having such beautiful alignment with all of those clients that you'd been able to work with. I was then pushed out of my comfort zone to do things on my own. And then when I think it was after advanced hypno, that it was it felt.
Well, ironically, like Jess had Holistically Connected and I had Alignment, and then we had our own logos, and then now it's like we're Align and Connect, which is both of our names, and it has both of our logos, which, you know, it's just crazy how it works out that it was meant to be. And we joke about it at times, like, maybe people think that we set this up, that this was out, you know.
But maybe we did.
Maybe we did.
Unconsciously and consciously, you got, you know, obviously.
The turning point was knowing that it was what we wanted to offer is exactly what we had experienced, in knowing the power of what it is, that it can't not relate to everyone and anyone in that relationship connection piece. To do the work yourself is to do the work together, and that's just, you know, because
you may even remember in the first couple of, like, in NLP practitioner and hypnotherapy, my intention was always to be able to work with Jess without resistance. And it wasn't actually until advanced hypno that we did that together, and we both come in with that intention of, we want to be able to work together with it, because we had a bit of resistance of doing stuff at home, and then because it was such a beautiful opportunity to practice together, we used to beat ourselves up that we weren't doing it. And so advanced hypno was that turning point for us to be like, right, cool, let's clear what's around that and really come together, and you know, that's how it happens. So
that's so beautiful. I love that. I mean, it reminds me so much of how Paul and I merged our logos and our brand names together. And it's so beautiful. It's like, it actually just makes a lot of sense. So
that's cool.
I love that. So you touched on, I'm interested because you touched on at the beginning how most of the resistance comes from like the male in the partnership generally. And you talked about, you know, that strategy to just like push it down, repress emotions, just get on with things, you know. And I want to acknowledge that, because there is a time and a place for that just that steadfast, just get things done, move forward. But what are you noticing with, say, the couples that you're working with, when those men are lowering that resistance, and when, you know, the couples are connecting and coming together in that way? What are you seeing as like some of the biggest barriers that people have to overcome for either one of you?
Yeah, I think like my big thing with, because I've been working with men mainly, is that there's just that fear of you've got that like little fear of judgment, that fear of being vulnerable, like this conditioning of men don't speak about their feelings, men don't cry, men don't, and you know, as always, when you're working with a client, it's just, you've always got that mirror. It's like, I can see, I was sitting where you're sitting right now at a point in time, and what's beautiful about that is, you know, exactly how to, I guess, get in there nice and gently. And there's nothing more rewarding than watching, for me personally, watching a man open his heart and get results, you know, and then to let them, when they realize that they're getting the results, it's not, all I'm doing is just sitting, just going, at this point here, point there, they're doing all the work. And when they realize that by being vulnerable and they're actually getting their own results themselves, that's, for me, that's my, like, yes, this is why
that the men have a safe space to just be heard, seen and valued, and just be vulnerable in that way, where potentially they may have never felt that before, and to be held in that masculine energy, to know that it's okay, that they are safe to be vulnerable. I think that's the power.
Beautiful. Oh, it's so special. And so we have a lot of people in our community that are watching these videos, people who have maybe done one level of training, or they're thinking about doing more levels, or they want to start their coaching business, but maybe they've been sort of dabbling. What advice would each of you have for new coaches who are studying with us, or maybe about to do their first course? What kind of top couple of pieces of advice would you love to share?
I think it's what you said before, Juliet, is just go all in.
Dive in, both feet, just go. Like, there's not a part of any uncomfortability that I've felt over the journey that like doesn't light me up now when I look back. Like, there's anytime you feel that, I don't know if I'll, a live video or putting yourself out there, and got fortunate enough to have a few good friends that have studied as well, and we keep in contact, and it's beautiful having this bounce back and forward to be able to assist each other's growth, and just go for it. Like, you cannot lose, and you can't lose. If your heart's in it, you're going to get the results that you want.
What would you talk about in terms of the community and the connections that you have made with people you've studied with over the years?
It's lifelong friends. Like, we've got it's like this family. Like, so often we have people close to us that we can't work with because it just doesn't work. And what's beautiful is it's like we have such a huge community, a family of people that we can refer people out to, that we can reach out to. The Evolve and Relaunch group in itself is so often someone will ask a question on there, or I'll put a question if there's something coming up. And you've just got this like whole community of beautiful people that just want to help. I get so much out of the group when other people ask questions. I'm like, I've been thinking, and it's just like you got these like 30 or 40 answers on there of beautiful community that all just support each other and have each other's backs.
It's like every possible like-minded soul that you could think of across the globe coming together, connecting. It's impossible that you're not going to be able to make some of the most beautiful connections that you'll ever make in your life. I mean, I've got regular friendships that we connect all over the world, and we connect fortnightly, weekly, whatever it is.
I think that's a huge part. I was so resistant to online because I thought the limiting belief that I couldn't learn that way, but that's been the superpower. Is we've got like lifelong friends in every state in Australia, overseas, like from being able to study online together, and the course finishes, and then you're like, we don't get to see the family tomorrow. Like, you got like 30 or 40 people that you've been seeing every day, like all day, every day. And it's like,
it's pretty special. I mean, that's why we do the coaches circle once every 2 months. So hopefully you guys are going to come along for that one. But I agree. I think the online has just been so special. And I suppose also for now where you're both living, it's a lot more practical because, just all of those logistics. But I think the confidence it builds in terms of your skills, you can translate to working with anyone, anywhere in the world, rather than having to work with people in a 15-kilometer radius of your house. So
I love that.
And even this conversation we're having right now. Well, thank you so much, both of you, but also thank you for showing up in the world. Thank you for diving in. Thank you for trusting us. Thank you for doing the work. Thank you for being such epic ambassadors and, representatives of Evolve and Relaunch, and all of the gifts and the gold that's on the other side of that discomfort and that unknown and all of those things. And I think you both are just walking, talking, living, breathing examples of what it means to really show up and to give your 100%, not only to your own evolution, but to how you're showing up in relationship with each other, and the fact that you're now sharing that with other couples. And that's just, that's the example of the ripple effect, right? And I love that ripple effect. I was just reflecting on some of the students that you've referred to us, and one stands out in particular. I won't name names, but the ripple effect you're having, especially with men feeling safe to come into this kind of work. For us we love having the tradies come and do this work, because we just know that, you know, they're working with 10, 20 other people, and just those little seeds that people can plant into different suggestions and ideas to start looking at life differently. That's where all the gold really comes from. So I want to say a big thank you to both of you for your time and also your journey and your evolution. And I would 100% recommend anyone listening into this, if you're wanting to find an amazing coach, reach out to Jes or Wez or Together for their couples alignment coaching sessions and packages. Any final words, anything else you both want to say?
Yeah, I think we just want to say thanks to you guys as well. It's been such a beautiful journey, and obviously it hasn't ended. We'll always be connected, but it's just what you guys create and that beautiful family feel is just, it's words can't really express how amazing it is. Functional
family, we like to say, because most people, when people say it's like a family, it's dysfunctional, but we're like, oh, no, functional family.
Said just our deepest gratitude for opening this door of opportunities. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. It's so lovely to have you both on Interview with an Evolver for this month.
Thanks, Juliet.
Thank you.